Yeah, hi, my name is Mark Lucas. I'm the CEO of Cannasouth Limited, one of New Zealand's leading medicinal cannabis companies. Thanks for joining today. I'd like to just give a brief presentation regarding creating opportunities and differentiated products in the global medicinal cannabis sector. So firstly, just who is Cannasouth? We're one of the earliest companies to get involved in medicinal cannabis in New Zealand. The founders, including myself, were involved in industrial hemp trials back in 2002. We did one of the first extractions of cannabinoids from industrial hemp here in New Zealand back in 2017. We were the first medicinal cannabis company to list on the NZX back in June 2019, something we're particularly proud of. To date, we've raised over $20 million to fund the growth of the business. And we've established a high quality team here. We've got over 190 years of combined pharmaceutical experience within the business now. We're a science-led business. We're vertically integrated so that we can control the quality of our product from start to finish, which is absolutely imperative in the pharmaceutical development space. So here's just a quick overview of Cannasouth. As I say, we are a group of companies, but we are vertically integrated. So Cannasouth Bioscience, we develop the medicines, R&D, sales. Then we have Cannasouth Cultivation. That's our joint venture partner where we produce the biomass. In pharmaceuticals, the quality of the product in directly relates to the quality of the product out. And so having control of that whole supply chain is absolutely critical. So Midwest Pharmaceutics is our subsidiary company. That's an existing GMP manufacturer that's responsible for extraction, manufacturing and distribution of the finished products as well. So just a slide here. A lot of people, when they think about medicinal cannabis, and this is a very short presentation, so I can't get into the science that underpins it, but there are products that you could potentially, or in fact you could put in the fad category, and on this particular slide here we've got what I believe is a spectrum that represents that. At one end we've got the CBD infused pizza. Moving through CBD infused shampoos, you can argue what value they do or don't have. In the middle there, I believe you're actually moving into the space of products that will be around for a long time. These are food grade supplements that contain non-psychoactive cannabinoids like CBD. Then we really get into the space that Cannasouth is interested in. We've got pharmaceutically manufactured medicines, unapproved, so not approved for a specific condition, but still produced to that pharmaceutical quality standard. And that seems to be a standard where a lot of countries are sort of setting the benchmark for medicinal cannabis, including New Zealand. Then we move right through to full pharmaceuticals that have gone through full clinical trial process and have been approved for treating specific conditions. So this is a high growth industry. There's a lot of excitement around the world. It is a complex industry. Again, it covers a broad range from those food grade products, supplements, cosmetics and pharma. The global CBD market is growing rapidly. It's predicted to reach over 13 billion by 2028. The German medicinal cannabis market, which is an interesting market, they utilise that pharmaceutical quality standard. Tipped to grow to US 2.1 billion by 2025 from 267 million in 2020. So we can see quite rapid growth there as patients and prescribers become familiar with these medicines. And Australia is another good example of this. You can see the market growing quite rapidly there from an estimated 95 million in 2020 right through to 150 million in 2021. And we can see in Australia that they are now allowing low-dose CBD products to go over the counter or via pharmacy, which will further accelerate the growth of that market as patients don't need to go to a prescriber to actually get access. New Zealand has started a little slowly. There are only 4 products and they're available at the moment that have been assessed as meeting the New Zealand quality standard. That has slowed the market. That will change. One thing in New Zealand patient access favour is the prescribing pathway here is more straightforward than Australia. Any prescriber can prescribe medicinal cannabis for any condition that they see fit. And telehealth consultations are really speeding this up as well, where you can see a cannabis specialist via a telehealth consultation. So obviously the purpose of this is talking about IP and product differentiation. So there are some challenges in the medicinal cannabis sector. Some of these aren't unique to the sector, but they are affected by the type of or nature of these products in some degree. Certainly the one at the top, cannabis is still illegal in many countries, so there obviously creates issues with registering IP. Interestingly, many therapeutic effects and methods of administration of cannabis have been widely reported for many years or disclosed in the past, and so this does create significant prior art, and this needs to be navigated. The high cost of progressing and maintaining patents, that's obviously not specific to this industry, but when you're operating in a pharmaceutical space as a smaller company, that becomes an issue. You have to have a pretty clear thought and strategy around how you're going to approach that particular problem. There's a need to continuously monitor IP landscape for potential infringement. A high cost, should there be any legal challenges to registered IP. And to be granted a patent, it obviously must be both novel and inventive, and so that prior art issue creates some challenges. So, these are what we're up against. But on the other side of that, there are huge areas of growth in this area, from the genetics themselves, the plants, how they're bred and what compounds they produce, to the systems of cultivating and harvesting, from indoor to outdoor, field grown. There's a lot of systems development to go. Software as well, the software that underpins tracking these plants from one end to the other. These are controlled drugs in many cases. Extraction and refinement processes, product development, formulation, bioavailability. The list just goes on and on. The more you look at it, the more you realise there are big opportunities, and there's obviously a lot of people trying to come in and find their niche in these markets. So what's Cannasouth's approach? So we are a science-led business. We've been focused on the very beginning at developing pharmaceutical quality products. So we established advanced R&D facilities here. We have some of the most advanced extraction and cannabinoid isolation equipment available anywhere in the industry. We believe that we have the most developed R&D capability in medicinal cannabis in New Zealand. We've built an experienced team in pharmaceutical development, because obviously you can have all the machines you like in the world, but if you don't have the right people behind them and the right strategy, you are not going to actually be able to navigate some of those issues that I pointed out on that previous slide. We've developed a patent landscape awareness, prior art, freedom to operate, very important, and identified gaps as well, which is obviously crucial to be able to look into registering your own defendable IP. We've achieved Callaghan funding for some of our important research studies. We have a neuropathic pain study, multi-year study going on, and we also have drug delivery research as well, which is looking at how we deliver these compounds into the human or the animal and make them more bioavailable. We're building an in-house chemical library of cannabinoid compounds and computational bioactivity. So looking at how these compounds actually interact with our internal endocannabinoid system, so the receptors that they bind to. Very important, because there are a lot of active compounds in this plant, and to understand how they are interacting with the various receptors will enable us to look for new therapeutic uses. And then we've got other preclinical proof of concept studies ongoing as well, which is an important first step before you commit to a full clinical trial pathway. So the next steps, again, that preclinical and clinical trials. Ultimately, once we've established a proof of concept, taking a product through a clinical trial is the next step in that journey. Needs to be very carefully thought through. Again, these are very expensive studies to do, and you need to have a good confidence that the product is going to be efficacious and worth taking through that process. But ultimately, the end goal is to have a product that's approved for a specific condition. Once products are approved, you then open up the opportunity for those products to be funded. The likes of Pharmac funding drugs will greatly reduce the cost to patients, which is a significant barrier. This also opens up the possibility of OTC sales in markets like Australia and potentially New Zealand in the future as well. And ultimately, we want to build an IP portfolio. We've got short, medium and long-term goals that we're working our way through, and this is very important so that you're not you're not putting all of your emphasis on one project or another, that you've got multiple possibilities that are coming through. So drug delivery, Some of that technology will relate to cannabis, but again, some of it can also be used in other similar compounds. New molecules, bioactives, new therapeutic use, new conditions that we're looking to treat with these compounds. There are over 100 active compounds within the plant, and so there's a lot of potential there. Grow technologies, we're heavily involved in the production of the biomass, and there's a lot of development to go in that space, and genetics as well. So we're looking into all of these areas. I just want to touch on here Cannasouth cultivation. So in the pharmaceutical industry, again, the quality of the product is crucial. You have to have control all the way through to actually be able to register these products. So it was imperative that we had control of the cultivation process. So we've invested in a state-of-the-art cultivation facility. It is the industry-leading design-controlled environment greenhouse, and what that enables us to do is produce a premium plus product. So traditionally, the highest grade product has been grown indoors. This technology and this system improves on that again. It produces a better product, which is product differentiation. And we're seeing companies that have focused on the very, very highest quality product, even as the markets commoditise, are able to hold their position. And so this is a one of a kind in New Zealand, and it's something that we're very proud of. And there is scope to further improve this technology and know-how as we operate this facility. So conclusion, creation of a valuable IP portfolio using a defined company strategy is what we're all about. Again, unless you have a real clear strategy, it's going to be very difficult to navigate some of those challenges. Current products are very basic. The current medicines that are out there are THC and CBD, often blended with MCT, coconut oil, and that's how primitive they are. So there's a long way to go with development. GW Pharmaceuticals, this is an example of big pharmaceutical companies now really starting to take an interest in the sector. Recently sold to Jazz Pharmaceuticals for over $7 billion US. So GW Pharmaceuticals, one of the leading companies in this space globally. 2 products, but they do have a product pipeline and clinical trials underway. So again, genuine IP and product differentiation is absolutely critical in this space. There are a lot of generic products with no IP protection, and if you are stuck in that space, you could be caught in a race to the bottom. So it's something Cannasouth's been very focused on right from the very beginning, and we believe we're well on the way to creating some genuine defendable IP. So thank you very much, and I look forward to answering a few questions later on.